Tuesday. Welcome in. Tuesday, right? No, it's Monday. Happy Monday, midday cruise Q&A. I was getting confused because I was preparing to schedule a Tuesday chat. Totally forgot. It is just Monday. But welcome in, everyone. Appreciate you guys being here. I am RacQuelle from MHFamilyAdventures, and I go live on Mondays when I'm not cruising to answer your cruise questions. I am also the owner of Major Adventures Travel, where we focus solely on cruise vacations. So if you're looking to plan your first or next cruise vacation, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to assist you. And I go live because I get a lot of questions all the time, whether it's on social media or people email me. And with us having so many cruise clients, I'm not always able to answer questions that for people that aren't necessarily cruise clients. So this is just an opportunity for you to ask questions you may have about cruising, just general questions about cruising. If you have anything specific you have about cruising, feel free to ask. I just completed my 80th cruise since 2019. I just got off yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? Holland Koningsdam. I had a small group on board with me. So I'm pretty experienced when it comes to cruising. I've cruised pretty much all of the major cruise lines. I'm working my way into luxury cruising as well. I have 2 luxury cruises coming up actually in November, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and start dropping those in the chat. Hope you guys can hear and see me well. And I am in a sweater today. Do I have my microphone on? I don't have my microphone on. Hold on. Maybe you can hear me better that way. um, yeah, it's cold outside. It is cold here in Ohio. I mean, it was cold in California, so I cruised out of California and it was a little chilly there, but it is cold here in Ohio. So let's see who's here in the chat. First one in the chat, Bryce, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you're doing well. Fam Lions, welcome in, family. Hope you guys are doing okay. They said happy Monday. It is Monday, not Tuesday. Tracy, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Hello to you. Elisa's Adventures in Cruising, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. Cruising Charlie says, hello, see you in a week. Is it quite a week? It's just a few days, isn't it? In a few days. Yeah, in a few days. Yvette, welcome in, says hello, everyone. And Cruising Charlie's referring to Norwegian Gem. I will be on board Norwegian Gem. That is my next cruise. Halloween. So I'll be on board out of my home city of Jacksonville, Florida. This will be the first sailing of Norwegian Gem out of Jacksonville. It is pretty much Jacksonville has just had Carnival Elation for years. So now they're getting a new ship, not a new ship, it's an old ship, but they're getting a ship new to Jacksonville. So I figured I will hop on board for this short 3-night sailing because we also have a group cruising to Greece, and that cruise sold out within a week. Norwegian Gem in 2027. So I figured I'd go ahead and scope that ship out while it's in my home city. Dre says, glad I was able to catch you live. I'm glad you were able to catch me live. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Sig the Solo Cruiser, welcome in, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. On the Go with Yellow, happy Monday to you. Ernest says, cruise, mama. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm cruising. November is going to be extremely busy. If you are a channel member, if you are a Diamond channel member, I did release in the post section, I released the rest of my cruising schedule for 2025 and a sneak peek into 2026. So be sure to check that out. Rosalind, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Hello to you. And guys, go ahead and feel free to start dropping your cruise questions in the chat. Let me make sure I'm live over on Facebook. Let's see here. I think I am. I should be, hopefully. Let's see here. I am. And before we get started, I do want to send all of my thoughts, prayers, well wishes to those who are currently in Jamaica or who are in the path of Hurricane Melissa. I do have a couple of colleagues currently in Jamaica, and one posted a very heartfelt live stream or video earlier today, and it almost brought me to tears. She was traveling with a small group of people in Jamaica. They were scheduled to fly out yesterday, but they closed down the airports. So they're preparing to shelter in place at the convention center. So just a tough time. And this is going to be like a record-breaking hurricane that Jamaica has never seen before. So we are definitely praying for those living in Jamaica, residing, those who are visiting. or what have you. Also, if you are preparing to cruise, I totally understand how devastating it is for your cruise plans to change. However, because I've seen some things this morning on social media that's kind of made me sick, honestly. As much as I love to cruise, as much as I love to travel, life before anything else, safety before anything else. So I'm seeing and hearing people complain because they've had itinerary changes, or they're supposed to visit Jamaica next week, or whatever the case may be. Guys, have a bit of decency and understanding for those who are currently being affected, because that is third world problems if we are preparing to cruise or travel, um and our plans change. Just imagine if you were currently there having to deal with this, and then the aftermath of what's to come. So again, my prayers, thoughts are with everyone in the path of Hurricane Melissa, and if you are in the path, drop a comment and let us know. We are certainly praying for you guys. Um, let's see here. Let's see. Miss Tiffy PD, welcome in, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Happy Monday to you. Erica, welcome in, says it's cold in Georgia. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna have a heck of a winter this year, because it's like we went from 85 degrees to highs in the 60s. I think this week the highs are going to be like low 50s. That's the high. I'm not ready for it. Unlearn and eat. Good day, everyone. Welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Uh, Ernest says, Cruise Queen. Thank you so much. I'll take that crown. Andrea says, hello. Welcome in, Andrea. Appreciate you being here. Terry says, hi from Jamaica. I hope you're doing well, Terry. Please be safe out there. We are sending thoughts and prayers to you. Michelle, welcome in. Thanks for watching from Facebook. Appreciate you being here. We have our first question in the chat. Did you once say that there's excursion companies that guarantee to get you back to the ship on time? Yes. So, if you guys have been following our adventures, you know that we are very busy cruisers, in the sense that we like to do excursions. Pretty much every port, we do some sort of excursion. We aren't the type that will just get off and walk the port and say we've been there. We like to actually get out and immerse ourselves in the places we're visiting. And with that, we find it best for us to book third-party shore excursions versus the ships. The difference, if you are a new cruiser, if you book through the ship, one, you're going to pay a higher price. Two, but it also gives you like a return to ship guarantee. So you're going to have a satisfaction guarantee. So if something goes wrong on your tour, what have you, the cruise line will do what they can to make it right. But they're also going to guarantee that you get back to the ship on time. If there's a delay, cancellation, or anything happens that prevents you from getting back to the ship will wait for you. Third party, if you book third party, places such as Viator, Shore Excursions Group, places like those, they are, first off, you're going to find a cheaper excursion, very similar to what the cruise line may offer, but it's usually going to be cheaper, and it's usually going to have a lot smaller group. Give you an example. I was just in Ensenada, Mexico a couple days ago with my group that was on Holland Koningsdam. The ship offered pretty much the same exact tour, where it was supposed to be like tacos. It was called Tacos, Brews, and Views, which would be just going for taco tasting, beer sampling, and views of Ensenada. The ship's excursion was like double the cost of what we paid for our excursion. Now, there were some quirks with our excursion we figured out later on, with some fine print, but there was only our small group. There was 7 or 8 of us on this particular tour, and I can guarantee you the ship excursion would have had probably 40, 50 people. But yes, certain companies will offer a return to ship guarantee, but they guarantee that they're going to get you back on time. But in the rare event that something happens and they can't get you back on time, they will either fly you to the next port, or they will reimburse you. I can tell you that Shore Excursions Group, I think it's like $1,000 per person or something like that. They have never, as far as the last time I checked with them, they have never had to use that, because they always get you back on time. So Shore Excursions Group is one that I can tell you for sure they have a return to ship guarantee. Viator does not, and that's because Viator works with other companies. So if you go on Viator, there's going to be a whole host of different companies that are selling tours, and so Viator itself does not offer the return to ship guarantee. But you can check with some of the shore excursion providers. Shore Excursion Group is our go-to. We book a lot of Viator as well. And Shore Excursioneer is another website that does offer a return to ship guarantee. And I also recommend that if you are cruising and taking third-party excursions, always give yourself at least 2 hours of wiggle room to get back to the ship on time. You don't want to chance it by booking a tour that's kind of later in the day. That's going to give you that chance of being left behind. We tend to only book show excursions where we're going to have a few hours left at the end. That way, if something happens, we at least have that little bit of time to try to get back to the ship. Also, tender ports. And this, I'll be creating a reel this week about this. If you have a tender port, if you're not familiar with tender ports are ports where you have to get on a smaller boat to get to shore. And we had two tendering opportunities on this last sailing, one for Catalina Island and one for Santa Barbara, California. And so I caution you on booking third-party shore excursions when there is a tender port, because sometimes you may be delayed. We were delayed in Santa Barbara, and I was originally going to book a third-party tour. Had I booked that third-party tour, I would have missed it because we were delayed an hour or so tendering because of wind. So keep that in mind. You might be better off doing a ship excursion for a tender port or booking a later tour that still gets you back in time. Good question. Welcome in, welcome in, Quality Child Care One. Appreciate you being here, and welcome into the 82 of you watching. I appreciate you guys being here. I am RacQuelle from MHFamilyAdventures, and this is our Monday Midday Cruise Q&A, where I answer all of your cruise questions. So feel free to drop those in the chat. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Like this video for us. We would greatly appreciate it. Song, welcome in. Says good afternoon. Appreciate you being here. Charlie says, woo woo. Yep, Halloween. Denisha, welcome in, says, hello, RacQuelle and everyone. Happy Monday. Have a great week. You do the same. Let's see here. Just scroll. I'm looking for questions, but welcome in to everyone if I'm missing you. The traveling talls, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Cruising Charlie says, this will be cruise number 12, second with NCL. Hope you have a great time. I'm sure I'll see you on board. Meredith Cooper saying hello to Neil, saying good afternoon. Let's see here. Danielle, good question. Hello, RacQuelle. Can you give me info on how the MSC cruises that have kids sail free work? Okay, so when MSC Cruises offers kids sail free, it's just like with any other cruise line that offers kids sail free, but I like MSC's better because for them, kids are 81 from 0 to 17. Whereas like with Royal Caribbean, it's 0 to 12. So you have to be for Royal Caribbean, it's 12 or under at the time of sailing, not the time of booking, to be free. And there's select sailing, select cabins, select all of that. But with MSC, it's the same thing. They have, thank you, Cruising Charlie, for becoming a channel member. I appreciate that. With MSC, when they advertise kids sail free, usually it's on all sailings that are available. They don't necessarily have a lot of blackout dates like you'll find for like Royal Caribbean. And again, it's for anyone 0 to 17 and for guests 3 and 4. So they must be guests 3 and 4 in the cabin to be free. What free means is it's not completely free. Free means there's 0 cruise fare. So if you ever look at the breakdown of your cruise, like when you get a cruise confirmation, it'll have a cruise fare portion, it'll have a port taxes fees, it'll have taxes, fees, port expense section, gratuities, insurance, all of that. The cruise fare will be zeroed out for the kids sail free, but you would still pay the taxes. And then if you decide to prepay gratuities, you will pay the prepaid gratuities. And if you decide to add insurance, you'll also pay the insurance as well. But the cruise fare is 0. But I can tell you that MSC has some amazing rates with the kids sail free. I'm actually in the process of announcing a sale with me. And when I tell you, for instance, I'm doing a 7-night cruise, Caribbean, port intensive. I was looking at what the pricing would be for kids. And let's say an interior cabin for 2 guests with drinks and Wi-Fi was $1,900 or $2,000. To add 2 kids on there, it only bumped the cost like $400 because of the kids sail free promotion. So it is definitely worth looking at for MSC. Also, currently, MSC is offering a special for travel advisors. I don't know if it's open for all travel advisors or not, but we can offer what they call family and friends rates. So there are select sailings between now and the end of the year. So if you're interested, or if you've already been looking to book MSC cruises and you want to get booked just message me. I can let you know if I have a discounted rate. I saw one today, I actually booked someone earlier today on one for MSC Seascape, and the family and friends rate that I had was like $500 less than what you could get online. So that rarely happens where we get those types of rates that we can book you at. So if you are currently already looking for MSC or have your eyes on a sailing, send me a message. Email us cruise@majoradventurestravel.com, and I'll let you know if we have a family friends rate for that sailing. We also have it for our group cruise for December. So if you were kind of wanting to get on board for our group cruise, MSC World America, December 20th through the 27th, I don't have any more group rates or group space available, but we do have some of the family and friends rates available if you wanted to get on board. You wouldn't get any group perks because our group booking has closed, but you would be on board. We'll still make sure you get a t-shirt, what have you, and we'll be on board. We'll include you in all the activities. Let's see here. Lisa says, I always forget you're from Jacksonville. That's a fun way to visit your old favorite places. Yes. Actually, though, I'm not going to be spending any time in Jacksonville. I haven't been home probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and actually spent time at home. Honestly, there's other than like my nieces living there, there's really nothing there for me in Jacksonville. Both my parents passed away, don't have siblings living there or what have you. So, I'll go visit from time to time, but when I leave for this sailing, I will be literally flying in the morning of the cruise, which I never recommend you do. And I'm flying out right after the cruise ends. So there's not going to be any wiggle time to visit anything. We will be visiting though sometime next year. Fam Lion says, question regarding distilled water for CPAP machines. Do you bring your own or can MSC provide it if requested? MSC can provide it if requested. Let me go ahead and make a note to put that in for you. Yeah, they'll provide it if you request it, as well as an extension cord. I know that at one point they were going back and forth about whether they were going to charge. A lot of cruise lines have started to charge. So I will put the request in, but if something happens and um they try to charge you for it, just know that I know that last time I put one in, they were kind of going back and forth on whether they were charging for the gallons of water. But yes, you would have to put that in. They will also allow you to, if I make a note on your booking, they will allow you to bring on a gallon of water. It has to be completely sealed, can't be open. They will let you carry that on if you have a medical note in there. And I'm making a note to myself. Okay. Let's see. Cruising Charlie, is Grand Bahama Island worth getting off for? It's not my favorite island. Grand Bahama is Freeport, Bahamas. I don't have anything planned or booked for that day because that is our one port for Norwegian Gem. I'm gonna probably figure something out. It'll probably be something last minute. It is worth getting off if you've never gotten off. Not the issue. The thing with Grand Bahama is that it is an industrial port. So when you pull up, there's going to be factories around. In order to get to like a scenic beach or an area that's really nice, or go to like the open air market, you're going to have to go about 20 minutes away. And their taxis aren't always regulated. So if you're trying to like just catch a taxi to go to the open air market or go to a beach, you could get some random pricing. So I would say that if you are planning on getting off Grand Bahama Island and it's your first time there to do a ship excursion, I can tell you that there weren't many attractive ship excursions offered. You could also book a third party tour, but a lot of the third party tours in Grand Bahama don't necessarily pick up in Grand Bahama. It might be like a resort for a day type thing where you have to actually taxi into somewhere and taxi back. And I don't know if I would taxi around on my own, but I always say every port is worth getting off at least once. If I were to pick a port that I would be okay not getting off and doing something again, Grand Bahama would be it. But any other port, like I tend to get off and find something to do. There are some beautiful beaches there. Elisa says, this is sad. A category 5 is no joke. Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely not a joke. But you guys, you wouldn't believe, you probably have seen it. I mean, people have sent me messages asking, questions about, do you think my itinerary is going to change? If so, can I get my money back? Like stuff like that. First off, if you're not a client, I'm probably not going to respond. Or I'm going to tell you to contact your travel agent or contact the cruise line. But I've literally received 3 to 4 messages this morning, people just asking general questions about what's happening in Jamaica and what are my options. And unfortunately, if you're not booked through our agency, I can't advise you on your options. But out of the few that I received, a couple of them were very like, I've been planning this for X, and it's kind of heartbreaking that I'm like, well, imagine the heartbreak of the people that are there. So that kind of stuff irks me, but I digress. Is it Alicia Rose? Welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Unlearn and eat. When flying into Fort Lauderdale but cruising out of Miami, what is the most economical way to get to Miami? Honestly, I get this question all the time. Honestly, the best way is Lyft or Uber. They do offer, and it depends. So, like for us, for the most part, we fly into Fort Lauderdale because it's cheaper, but we stay in Miami because the hotels tend to be cheaper at Miami Airport than Fort Lauderdale Airport. So we'll usually Uber or Lyft that way. You can do that. The thing with Ubers, and it's dynamic pricing. So depending on the time of day, depending how many requests they're getting, pricing can change. The ships will offer shuttles the morning of the cruise. So if you decide to stay in Fort Lauderdale and then catch the shuttle to the cruise line, you're looking at about $35 to $40 per person to get from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, depending on the cruise line, maybe 32, between 30 and 40 or so to get per person from Fort Lauderdale to Miami Cruise Terminal, which can be pricey. If you're a family of 5, we're going to spend $150 on shuttles, where we could probably catch an Uber for $70. So you got to kind of look at how many guests you have and figure out, is it going to be better to Uber or what have you. You can also catch, it's called Flixbus, Flix. Flixbus runs about $10 to $11 per person. They just don't run on a regular schedule, so you have to check to see what times it's running. And that will get you from Fort Lauderdale Airport to Miami Airport. And then if you're staying in Miami, you can catch your hotel shuttle to your hotel. And if you're going the morning of the cruise, you can just Uber from Miami Airport there. It might be cheaper that way too. So there's really, I don't have any recommendations as far as a specific shuttle or transfer company in Fort Lauderdale, because a lot of the companies there are like mom and pop type companies, and they often change. So like at one point I had one company that I was using, then they changed names and this and that happened. So I honestly have not found one. Like how I have Cruise Control, one of our partners out of Port Canaveral. I don't have anyone like that in Fort Lauderdale. So I always say, Uber, Lyft, Flixbus, and if you want to pay the higher cost to do the ships transfers, you can do that as well. Let's see. Esther says, thank you for the note on Jamaica this morning. I'm in the Caribbean. Yep, sending prayers to everyone in Melissa's path. John Henderson, welcome in, says, 2 questions. What is the best beach at Celebration Key with loungers and umbrellas without fees? And what is the best show you have ever seen on a cruise ship? Thanks in advance. So Celebration Key, all of the loungers and umbrellas are free except for at Pearl Cove. Pearl Cove is the adults only area. Let me take this back. The chairs and umbrellas for Pearl Cove are included in the cost. Pearl Cove itself, there's a fee for the adults that are staying there. It's an exclusive beach club section of Celebration Key. Now, is it worth it? For me, it's not. But some people who like exclusivity, they want to kind of be to themselves, have food readily available, some drinks included, what have you, then Pearl Cove would be the way to go. But you have, I'm trying to think, it feels like it's been so long since I was there. You have Starfish Beach, and then what is the other beach called? Can't think of the other beach. You have Starfish Beach, and then whatever the other beach is. The other beach, what is it called? Oh my gosh, the other beach is right there beside Pearl Cove. That side, I'm trying to think. They both were pretty rocky when I was there, but I've heard that they braked up the area some. But I want to say that that side closest to Pearl Cove was not as rocky as Starfish Beach. So Starfish Beach is more of your I'm not going to say family because anyone can go on either side, but because Starfish Lagoon, that area is more designated for families, so is that beach. But you can go to either, and either location, the loungers and umbrellas are free to use. Best show that I've ever seen on a cruise ship would probably have to go to The Wizard of Oz on Icon of the Seas, followed by the Donna Summer show on NCL Prima. Those are probably my top two cruise shows. What was the one I just saw in Star of the Seas? Back to the Future was also phenomenal. Liam, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. I've been doing well. I hope you're doing well as I hope you are doing well too. Quality Chopper says, what pre-cruise hotels and transportation you recommend? I hope to cruise out of this port one day. Which port are you referring to? Let me see if I go back. Which port are you referring to? Let's see. Cruising Charlie says, if you have an itinerary change, it's for the best. You won't be seeing the destination in the best light if you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Terry says, I am Jamaican. Yes. Oh, hold on. Did it scroll back up? It scrolled all the way back up. Hold on. Uh, sorry. It just went all the way. There we go. Erica says, yes, it's rainy and 54 degrees. My car says 50. Yeah, it's cold here too. Quality Chopper says low 50s all week in Chicago. Unlearn and Eat says, I live in Ohio as well. No heck of a winter, please. Just enough to kill the mosquitoes. Let's see. Drea says, I'm considering your Sail With Me cruise of the Southern Caribbean on Rhapsody of the Seas from San Juan. Any hotel recommendations, and have you previously sailed on Rhapsody? I do not have any hotel recommendations for San Juan, only because I have not cruised out of San Juan yet, but I will be doing some research, and anyone that's booked with the Sail With Me out of San Juan, I'll be sharing that information. I have not sailed on Rhapsody of the Seas. This sailing was originally scheduled to be on Radiance of the Seas, and they literally changed it a couple weeks ago. They are positioning Radiance of the Seas to leave out a different port, so they replaced it with Rhapsody of the Seas, which is a little bit older. It is an older ship, but honestly, this one here, we're looking at more of the itinerary and not the ship. So this is pretty much a port every single day, because it's sailing out of San Juan. I can't think of the itinerary off the top of my head. Hold on, I can tell you because I have it pulled up right here. So if you are interested in this Sail With Me, and I'll explain to you the difference between a Sail With Me and a group cruise, because I get this question often. So Rhapsody of the Seas, if anyone is interested, it is on our website, majoradventurestravel.com. I will reshare it again on social media. It is leaving July 25th through August 1st, 2026, leaving from San Juan. It'll have stops in St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. Martin, Antigua, and Dominica. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ports, 7 days. Amazing time. It is an older ship, but again, these are back-to-back ports and long port days at that. But this is a Sail With Me and not a group cruise. And the difference is, so with group cruises, you tend to have group activities, like everything's group excursions. You'll do like group meetups before the cruise, things like that. You might have group t-shirts and other perks. With the Sail With Me, because we already are doing like 3 groups per year right now, it's a lot to do multiple groups throughout the year. So I often get people saying, hey, I would like to cruise with you, or, I like the way you do excursions, and I like, or this itinerary, I'm a solo cruiser. I feel more comfortable knowing that someone else is on the ship kind of checking in with me or what have you. So Sail With Me is just that. I'm on board, the family might be on board, and like I usually share like my dining plans, and then if I'm doing any excursions, you're more than welcome to join me for dinner, for drinks, also for like the excursions and things. So like we had a Sail With Me on Holland Koningsdam. I had 15 or 16 people on board, and I will tell you there was probably only 7 or 8 that actually like hung out with me, which is perfectly fine because people were on board to enjoy their cruise or what have you. So it's a little different than a group. A group is going to be more organized in the sense we're going to have group activities, group t-shirts, group meet and greets, things like that. Whereas a Sail With Me, I'm on board. You see me when you can. We hang out when we can, but that's really what it is. And there's like no group perks usually. And that's just because I cruise so much, and I know that there are a lot of people that want to cruise and want someone to cruise with. And then, as much as I hate it and makes me squeamish, a lot of people like to meet me. And so, like, that would be your chance to meet me, and to hang out a little bit. So, that's what a Sail With Me is. Uh, Melbam says, and that guaranteed language is always listed on the sites. Yes. If you're referring to the shore excursion. So if you're on shore excursions group, if you go somewhere, it'll say return to ship guarantee, and it'll tell you exactly what they guarantee. Now, they say return to ship guarantee. It may not be exactly like return to ship. It could be flying you back home or flying you here or there, but they do have it in the fine print of what that looks like for each supplier. Liam says, what happens if the ship needs to leave early due to weather? Then the ship leaves. The ship leaves. The ship will this just happened actually in Hawaii. If you guys recall, there was like a tsunami warning. This happened, what, 2 months ago, maybe? If you guys follow Mandy, the cruise planner, she was actually on board when this happened. And so she was in port, I forgot which port in Hawaii, and there was a tsunami warning. The ship left. So anybody that was left on an excursion was left on the island. And then eventually they had buses to collect them. And I forgot where they took them. But if there's like weather that comes, for the most part, they're monitoring. So they know when weather's going to come. A tsunami is a little different. Um, there have been instances where cruise lines have said, hey, we're scheduled to port out of Port Canaveral on, this day or what have you. We're going to have you come a day sooner, or we're going to leave early in the morning. So make arrangements. So that has happened. It's rare, but it does happen. Uh, uh, Lucia says, hey girls, saying hi from Honduras, stuck on the boat with MSC World America. I did see that. I have a client on board right now, and someone else posted about not being able to get off. Sorry that you guys are stuck out there, but it's better to be safe than sorry. But I hope you're having a good time on MSC World America. Michelle says, lately, only because I have had really good amounts in OBC, I've been booking our shore excursions through the cruise line using the OBCs along with deeply sale price options. Yeah, you can do that for sure. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with ship excursions. For me, just because I cruise so much and I cruise so often, I just like try to find whatever I can do to avoid the crowd. And I like to go to the paths less traveled. So, excursions that people aren't always doing, or something that's different, or that's going to give you a different experience. So nothing wrong with ship excursions, but just know that you're going to get a totally different experience booking third party versus the ship excursion. um Panama Marina says, does shore excursions give you that guarantee when you buy their protection or not? No, the shore excursions group, that protection, the return to ship guarantee is for anyone, regardless if you add on the protection. The protection you're referring to is in the event that you need to cancel, you'll get your money back. So that's a different thing. They guarantee anyone that books a shore excursion, whether you insured your excursion or not, they're going to get you back to the ship without a problem. And guys, I literally use shore excursions group every time I cruise at least one port and never have had an issue. Welcome in, Travel Yes We See. I appreciate you being here, and welcome into the 122 people watching. I appreciate you guys being here. This is our Monday midday cruise Q&A. I'm RacQuelle from MHFamilyAdventures, and I go live on Mondays whenever I'm not cruising to answer questions that you may have about cruising. I just came off my 80th cruise since 2019. I still have a few more to go this year, and so I pretty much cruise all the major cruise lines. I'm branching off to other cruise lines and to some luxury and river cruising. So stay tuned for all of that. And if you are looking to plan your next cruise, first cruise, what have you, feel free to contact us, Major Adventures Travel. We would love to assist you. Let's see here. Meredith says, I will be going to Celebration Key for first in January. Is it worth spending money for a daybed for me, for my husband and 4-year-old? Honestly, that is a personal preference. I will say this. People have been complaining about it being overcrowded at Celebration Key. That was not my experience, but also keep in mind when I sailed, because I was at Celebration Key 3 times within 2 weeks. It was also like the grand opening of it. So things may have changed. And then also looking at what other ship is in port with you, a daybed may be a good idea if let's say it's 2 XL class ships, 2 big ships. It might be worth it to know that you have a designated area for you and your family. But if you aren't worried about that, or if you're someone that's going to get off the ship early, you can find loungers together, umbrellas together. No problem if you get off early. I think too, a lot of the people that are complaining are the ones that are staying on the ship and getting off at, like, the ship docks at 7 and they get off at noon. I mean, obviously, people have been off the ship all these hours, so it might be a struggle trying to find something. But yeah, if you plan to get off relatively early, I would say if your ship docks at 7 and you're off by 9:30, you should not have a problem getting anything. But if that is a concern of yours, I would say get the day bed. I will tell you that the day bed, if it's still 149, I honestly I don't usually purchase those types of things because I move about a lot. So that's also something to consider if you are someone who's not going to stay put in one spot, then it may be worthless. But the last time I was there, I debated getting one because I was like 149 for the nice day bed. You get two chairs, you had a cooler. It was for me, it was worth it, but I didn't do it because I just move around too much. Let's see here. Lucina, welcome in. Says good day, fam. I've been MIA for a while. Well, appreciate you returning. Appreciate you returning. And speaking of being MIA, guys, I do want to give you a heads up that I will not have these Monday midday cruise Q&As for the next almost 3 weeks because I'll be cruising. I have 4 cruises in November. So just a heads up that if you don't see me for a Monday midday cruise Q&A, that is why. Lucia says, so does MSC give compensation of any kind if you're stuck on the ship and can't get off in port? No. And that's the case for any cruise line. If you're stuck due to weather, that is not something that cruise line can control. Sometimes, depending on if you actually docked or not, you might get your port fees back for that port, which might be $15-20 per person. You might get that back. Remember, your port fees pay for the ship to be there for a certain amount of time. It also pays the port workers. So if you don't dock, then you probably should get back a few dollars from your port expenses for that particular port, but they're not going to offer you a refund. They're not going to offer you any onboard credit because weather is unpredictable. There's nothing that they can do about that. If you have travel insurance, sometimes, depending on the level of insurance you have, you may be able to file a claim to get back that portion of that of travel. But also sometimes with insurance, and again, I don't like speaking too specifically about insurance because each policy varies. Sometimes they'll allow you to file a claim because of weather. Sometimes they don't. Weather is just so unpredictable. So you can't hold the cruise line accountable for inclement weather. Uh Tuesday, is that hello, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Team Reese Travels, thank you so much for being here. Felicia says, yes, I'm interested in this. I think you're talking about the Sail With Me that I kind of gave a sneak peek to channel members. I will be announcing that officially later this week. What did you think of Liberty of the Seas, Royal Caribbean, first time cruising there? I think that Liberty of the Seas is a great first timers cruise. I would rank that up there. People always ask me what is a good first time cruise for Royal Caribbean. I always say Liberty of the Seas, Freedom of the Seas. Those are my top two for new cruisers to Royal Caribbean because they are medium sized ships. They have a lot of the amenities that you'll find on some of the bigger ships, but it's not overwhelming. So I had no issues with Liberty of the Seas. I think you'll have a great time. Email address. It is cruise, and I probably should have it going across the screen. Let's see if I can get that across the screen. It is cruise at, do I have it? Here, I can add it real quick. Email us at cruise at major adventures travel.com when you are ready to start planning. All right, it should come across the screen, I think. Let's see. Maybe, maybe not. uh, oh, I put it as the wrong thing. Hold on. But it's cruise at majoradventurestravel.com. I think I put it as the wrong thing. Here we go. Oh, I already had one. Oops, nope, that's wrong. Hold on. That's teleprompter. What am I doing? That's banner. This is why I need. This is why. Sorry. At one point, I had it going across the screen. There we go. Cruise at majoradventurestravel.com. That's where you can email us. Let's see. Go back to the chat. Now I lost it. I gotta scroll back. Carol Blue says, "Hey, RacQuelle, I'm on the MSC Meridian right now. The weather is not nice, but they have not announced any port cancellations." Yeah, they may not. Sometimes, unfortunately, if you're currently out at sea, they may not. It may be like a last minute cancellation, or they might have to divert. But MSC Meridian would be headed to uh, Port Canaveral, MSC Ocean K. You're probably clear. You're probably okay. It's probably gonna be rocky, maybe some rain, but I don't think you're not in the path. Barbara Lindsay, welcome in. Good afternoon to you. Appreciate you being here. Charles says we'll be staying at the new Hilton at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. All right, well, have a good time there. Um, do you only have discounts for MSC? No, we it depends on the cruise line. I can tell we never have discounts for Carnival. So people ask me all the time. We don't get discounts for Carnival, but we do get discounts for MSC. We do have discounts for Royal Caribbean on select sailings for two guests in a cabin only. So if you're booking solo, if you're booking um, more than two in a cabin, we won't have them. But we often have exclusive deals for Royal Caribbean. That is probably our biggest one that we get discounts for. But for the excuse me, but for the most part, our pricing matches what you see on the cruise line's website. Just booking with a travel advisor, you have an expert that can help guide you with any questions you have, any recommendations you may need. If there is a price drop, we're able to adjust that for you. And then sometimes we're able to add on extra perks like maybe onboard credit or what have you. But yeah, MSC and Royal Caribbean are the top two that I'm thinking of that we do get discounts for. Sometimes I'll have group space for other cruise lines that may be discounted, but that's like hit or miss depending on the sailing. Charlie says, I know NCL added a couple more like botanical gardens and such. Don't think I'll get off though. Yeah, it's just a 3-day cruise. So I'm unsure. I probably will get off just to highlight something. I just don't know what that is yet. Meredith says, I love the bright line for Fort Lauderdale to Miami. I used to like the bright line from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, but it's expensive now. I think if you go midweek, you might catch it cheaper, but a lot of times it's for me a higher price than just Ubering. If staying in Orlando, what means of transportation do you recommend to get to Port Canaveral? Cruise control transportation. They will pick you up from your your Orlando airport area, Orlando area airport hotel, and they will get you to the cruise terminal. It's $25 per person currently each way. You can save 10% off by mentioning code MHFam. That is my go-to for transportation out of Port Canaveral to Port Canaveral and vice versa. The Niche Niche says, what hotels do you recommend in Barcelona that's close to the cruise port? Unfortunately, I don't have, I've cruised out of Barcelona 3 or 4 times so far, but I have not stayed near the cruise port. Now we have our Sisters Cruising Abroad cruise in June. We are staying at the Andante Hotel. It's Andante, and it is like right in the city center. It's walking distance to everything, and it's only like 10 minutes from the cruise terminals. But as far as like the ones that are right, like backed up to the cruise terminal, I'm not familiar. Like I know of some there, but I can't say I recommend them. It's hard for me to recommend a hotel unless I've stayed there. Um, because some hotels are so hit or miss, but depending on when you're flying in, you might want to consider staying in like the city center area. That way you can walk around to attractions and to monuments and things like that, because their Uber and taxi situation is not the best. You could be waiting a long time for taxis and Uber. So I would possibly recommend staying closer to the city center and then just catch the taxi or whatever 10 minutes to the cruise terminal. But an Andante Hotel, Andante, has great reviews. It looks nice. I'll let you know if I recommend it when I get back. Quality Chakra says, I have 2 sailing days to be platinum with Carnival. I don't care about free laundry. I'm carry on only. What's your thoughts? Is there any benefit with the match from other cruise lines worth it? The only other cruise line that you can match your status to, honestly, is MSC. MSC, like other cruise lines, don't status match. So you're not going to be able to like take your status and go to Royal Caribbean or what have you. Um, I would say if you plan to cruise Carnival again, I personally would probably go ahead and book another short cruise just to get those 2 days in, whether it's the free laundry or not, because you're going to get other perks for being platinum, like the platinum drink. Hold on, I forgot what the perks were for Carnival. Let me pull them up real quick. They keep changing them. I can't keep track. So you're going to get other perks. Like we're platinum, we're close to diamond, but I wasn't going to add on additional cruises to get to diamond. It's not that serious for me because I'm all about cruising any cruise line. So with platinum, you are getting members only offers, member e-newsletter. You get a complimentary 1.5 liter bottle of water. You get priority check-in. So for that, I would, if you plan on cruising Carnival again or cruising them, more, priority check-in and boarding on embarkation day is wonderful. You also get to check in 48 hours before everyone else. So usually it's 14 days before the cruise. If you're platinum or diamond or suites or faster, no, or suites, you get to check in 16 days before the cruise. So you get to select your priority, your time for getting on. You'll get one complimentary beverage on a 5-night sailing or longer. I'm sorry, you get the Platinum and Diamond VIFP party on 5-night sailings or longer. You get one complimentary beverage on your cruise. You get a welcome treat on 5+ day cruises. You get a unique VIFP pin, priority spa reservations, priority water shuttle, which is important for those tender ports. You get $5 worth of complimentary arcade credits for guests under 18, VIP logo gift, priority guest services assistance on board, and a telephone number, priority debarkation, priority reservations in the main dining room. You do get the complimentary wash and fold laundry, which for me is worth it. So you do get more perks. So if you plan to cruise Carnival again, I would personally just go ahead and book a 3-day cruise just to get to it before, what is it, May 31st or whatever the date is. I would say in that case, it's worth it. It wasn't worth, we're like 20 so days away from Diamond. It wasn't worth me adding on with my busy cruise schedule to make Diamond. It's just not worth it. Yes, Jacksonville Cruise Port. Jacksonville has only had Carnival Elation. We actually cruised Carnival Elation 3 years ago, Christmas time. Welcome in, Edna. Appreciate you being here. Hope you had a great time on board Wonder of the Seas. Is Star of the Seas what they say it is? Yes. Yes, I will strongly say that Star of the Seas is probably one of my top cruises this year. Had an amazing time. I actually preferred Star over Icon of the Seas. So felt like the food was good, the service was good, the activities. I personally would get back on Star of the Seas for a 7-night cruise and pay the price. I was invited on board for the 3-night sailing, and it wasn't really enough to experience and explore, but I would pay the price to get back on Star of the Seas. Cruising with Charlie says groups are coordinated. Sail with me is not so much. Correct. That's it exactly. Groups have a lot more coordination. With like group meetings, like we do Zoom calls before the groups. I'll usually host like 3 group Zoom calls depending on the size of the group. Like I said, we'll do a meetup at the hotel. We'll do group t-shirts, group pictures, group excursions, group dinners, all of that. Whereas a sail with me is a little bit more lax. I can't do all of that coordination all year long with groups, which is why you do a sail with me, just offering it to those who want to get on board with you or who might be just sailing that same itinerary. And then, if I'm able to throw a perk on there, then I, will do that. So like the Rhapsody of the Sea sail with me, I'm able to add $100 on board credit per cabin. If it was a group cruise, I probably would have a little bit more for the perks, but yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Let's see, San Juan pre-cruise. I stayed at Hotel Rombio Tribute Portfolio Port right across the street. Let me go ahead and write that down. I'm always looking for like places that I have not cruised out of. I've been to San Juan. It was one of our favorite land trips, but having not cruised out of there, sometimes it's hard trying to figure out what the deal is. Elisa says, yes, Mandy shared her full experience with the tsunami. Yes, that's what I thought. Uh, Are you booking Royal Caribbean? I'm booking, I pretty much book all cruise lines. Um, Royal Caribbean, I'm actually in the top 5 agents for our host agency as far as the number of bookings that I have for Royal Caribbean as well as Carnival. So yeah, Royal Caribbean is one of our top suppliers. Carnival, Royal, MSC are 3 of our top suppliers. Welcome in HB5. Appreciate you being here. Liam says, if you go on a river cruise, I would like to sail with you, so let us know. Now, when I do a river cruise, So when I cruise or do something for the first time, a lot of times I don't open it up for people to join. Although Liam, you guys are an exception. Um, because I like to get out there and experience it. That way I can come back and talk about it, share about it, and then say, hey, join me for a sail with me or join me for a group. That's kind of my style, but yeah. John says, hi, RacQuelle. I know you were disappointed with Diana Ross canceling at last minute on Star of the Seas. What is the real reason she canceled? I had no clue. I don't think anyone knows. She was touring during that time. So people were speculating that there was a conflict. First, people were speculating that she was ill, but she was literally touring during that time. So I personally think there was a schedule conflict and that I suspect that Royal Caribbean knew all along. I just do. And I say that because I kind of have some back, I'm not going to go into details, but some back end knowledge because of being invited on the original because they shuffled dates so many times. I was booked on the original media sailing, then that got changed, and then it went from it's no longer the naming ceremony to the next sailing is the naming ceremony. Like it was a bunch of shuffling and no one could answer questions. So I suspect that they kind of knew at least a couple months beforehand. Um Carla says, I've been to Celebration Key twice. It was not crowded. I was on a mid-sized ship. Yeah, it depends too. I mean, but like I said, it was fine when I went. And it's so funny because like I can literally show you in live time. I can go live and say, hey, this is what it looks like on Celebration Key, 1 o'clock on this day. People will call me a liar. They'll say you are lying. Like I'm live. I'm showing you what it looks like. So my experience may be different than yours, but I also strategize when I cruise. I try to avoid the crowds. I'm not going to park myself right at the first lounge chair. I will walk further down, further out to get to a secluded spot. But you wouldn't believe the comments under some of my posts about Celebration Key, and they're like, "I've been there and it was so crowded." Well, what time were you off the ship? That's my question for you. Terry says, is it better to do a ship excursion in Europe or third party for a first time cruiser? First time cruiser, first off, first time cruiser, I commend you on going to Europe. I personally, as a travel advisor, and I've had clients who have reached out and said they were first time cruisers and they want to go to Europe. It's not something I personally would recommend. There are a lot of nuances with cruising out of Europe versus cruising like Caribbean or cruising out of Florida. Um, so you're really going to have to do a lot of research, have a really good travel advisor behind you because it's a little more complex than cruising from Miami. So first off, I commend you if you're taking Europe as your first cruise. I would say if it's your first time cruising, first time abroad, definitely do ship excursion. Definitely do ship excursion. If you're solo, definitely do ship excursion. Now, whenever I go, because like I was in Greece solo, and I kind of did a mix of ship excursion versus third party. So I'm the type I'm okay. Like I feel comfortable going off on my own. And usually you're gonna have other people from the ship that are part of that third party excursion anyways. So I'm fine with it. But as a first time cruiser, I would say go with the ship excursion. Justin says, have you ever done a Cunard cruise? I have not yet. At some point I will. Travel SBC says, we were at Celebration Key, two ships. It's way under capacity. Felt 50% of less occupied. Seats galore. See, but let me say it, I'm lying. uh, uh, Miss Glover, welcome in, says hello, happy Monday. Appreciate you being here. Queen Gemini says, will Virgin Voyages have a true crime sailing next year? It sounds like they will. So if you did not catch my true crime vlog, it was part one. I was trying to put it all as one vlog. It was just way too long. So the next part will be out on Sunday, part two, which has more of the fun stuff, I think. So if you guys haven't been following, I was invited by Virgin Voyages on board for their first true crime sailing. Now, I think the sailing kind of got mixed reviews because when you hear true crime, I guess in my mind too, I was thinking it would be more like a big game of Clue. It would be like trying to solve mysteries and this and that, but it wasn't quite that. It was more so that they brought on podcasters. The three that they brought on were Betrayal, Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, and Buried Bones. And so they had live podcast recordings. They had opportunities for you to do like bar crawls and paint and sips with the podcasters, some of the survivors from some of the podcasts. And then they did like some of their traditional Halloween theme type things. It does sound like they're going to have one for next year, but it hasn't been like 100% like, yes, we're definitely doing it. I would love to be on board again next year. I did give some feedback on some things and others did as well. So it's one of those things where you do a theme sailing over time, it's probably going to get better and better. I had a great time regardless. But yes, it does sound like there will be one for next year. But if it's like this year, they're going to announce it kind of late. This true crime cruise was only announced a few months before. So the if you were booked, so there were people on board that had no clue that it was even a true crime cruise because it wasn't labeled that when they booked and paid. But a few months before the actual sailing, it was relabeled as a true crime cruise. So there were some people like, I didn't know I booked that. Like they just had no clue. So I think, they'll probably announce something for next year. On the go with YOLO, welcome in, says was on Liberty in August. She's a great ship. Needs a facelift, but we enjoyed her. Yeah, it's a good ship. Um, Jay Klein says we have cruised out of Miami a couple of times. We just booked out of Long Beach for next year. Excited to see how different it'll be. It'll probably be a little cooler depending on the time of year. I always forget that it's cooler in California. You're gonna find that the water's gonna be really cold. Um, when you like if you go to a beach or anything like that. Time is it? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Okay. Um, and the sail is a little bit more laid back. So the music style will be different going out of West Coast, and it's more of a laid back sailaway. So if you're cruising, like let's say Carnival, it's not going to be your typical Miami sail away. But we enjoy cruising out of the West Coast. For me, the issue with the West Coast is the time difference. I always struggle with like going on Holland America. I struggle for 3 or 4 days with the time difference. I don't struggle when I go to like Greece or Europe, 7 hours, but when I have to go back, and it's 3 hours, that's a big deal for me. Meredith says, what is the weather like in the Caribbean in January? Trying to plan for packing. It'll still be warm. Expect like highs 80, 85. Lows could be 65, 70, but you're going to have good weather. You could still go to the beach. I personally don't really go to the beach in January because it can be cool, but it's going to be nice, sunny, and it can be hot. You can have cool days too, though. Uh, Jocelyn says, have you ever been on any cruises to Brazil? My son wants to go on one for high school graduation, but I don't see it happening time wise. I'm looking forward to your advice. It's funny you say that because I was actually looking at a Brazil cruise for a sail with me. So I did cruise Brazil on board MSC Orchestra. So you can check out that series. I did a day and a half in Rio de Janeiro before the cruise, and the cruise was a short cruise because really I just wanted to get to Rio and it did I have one or two port stops? I had one or two port stops in Brazil. Great cruise. I love that. That was probably one of my favorite trips from this year. I think I did that in when did I do that? In February? Was it this year or was it last year? I think it was February of this year. Had an amazing time. I would highly recommend it. Um, But Brazil is somewhat seasonal too. So you have to really look to see, and not every cruise line goes to Brazil. I can tell you that MSC has one of the top itineraries for Brazil. You can do 3 to 10 days Brazil for them. Costa Cruises, which is parent company to Carnival, but more European. Costa Cruises has a great itinerary for Brazil, very, economical. You're really not going to find that for Royal Caribbean. You might find it for NCL. So yeah, I would say just kind of browsing around. It's probably not too late to book a Brazil cruise, but they're also seasonal. And I'm trying to think if you're trying to go after his graduation, I want to say Brazil tends to be like that October through March, maybe April, but I could be wrong. But it is pretty seasonal for Brazil. Anthony says, any recommendations on transportation from Houston Airport to Galveston Port? Love the new video, by the way. Thank you so much. The only option that I know and recommend besides the cruise line transfer is going to be Galveston Express. They have increased their costs. At one point, they were like $25 per person. Then it was 30. I think they're now up to 40. Just the cost of everything has gone up. But Galveston, I can't say that word, Express would be the one that I recommend to people if you don't want to do the excursion or the ship's transfers. Another option, depending on if you are cruising with others, if it's just yourself, then it's probably best just to do the shuttle or Galveston Express. But if you have like, if we're a family of five, I'm not paying $40 per person. That's $200. You can do a one-way rental. I want to say it's Enterprise. You can pick up I'm pretty sure it's Enterprise. You can do a one-way rental. There is an Enterprise right next to the Galveston port, and I think they'll shuttle you to the cruise terminal. So look into that to see if it's cheaper to do a one-way rental versus getting multiple shuttle transfers. I think it's, if it's not Enterprise, it's budget. Lighter Shade, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Welcome in, Bridget. Thank you so much for being here. Uh, it says I might have to add you on my Hilton family and friends rate for all the cruising you do. Any discount I can get, I appreciate. I tend to book strictly Marriott though, because I do get travel agent rates for hotels. And Marriott gives the best. So 9 times out of 10, I'm staying at a Marriott. Welcome in, Charles. Appreciate you being here. Let's see here. Faith Walk says, hello, my name is Wendy. I want to book a solo cruise, but I'm not sure the best time and what cruise is best. I'm going to relax. Feel free to message me. My email is running across the screen. But yeah, I would say the best solo cruise, well, it depends on your budget. And so as far as cruising solo, most cruise lines are going to charge you double occupancy, meaning you're paying as if there's two people in the cabin, but there's only one person. I would say if you're looking to get the best rate, NCL has solo cabins. Your cabin will be smaller, but you'll get a good rate. MSC, some of their ships will have solo rates available, or solo cabins or studios. Royal Caribbean and Celebrity both have some solo cabins, not many. And then other cruise lines like Princess and Holland America, they might have a few. But I would say if you're looking to, oh, and Virgin Voyages, if you're looking to relax, Virgin Voyages would be a great option. NCL would be a great option because they're kind of low key with things. So yeah, just send me a message and we'll see what we can find for you. Grandma Teddy says, hi, RacQuelle, booking specialty dining on MSC Cruise. How do I get the $12 for the kids? You book that when you pay for them when you make your reservation. So the thing with MSC specialty dining is you purchase your package in advance, but you can't actually reserve your dining time until you're on board the ship. So let's say you're traveling with 2 adults, 2 children, and remember the kids menu is only for 12 and under. So if they're older than 12, they can't get the kids menu. So you would need to purchase specialty dining for the 2 adults. And then once you get on the ship and you go to the specialty dining venue to schedule for the cruise, you'll just tell them, hey, I paid for 2 adults, but I'm also going to add on 2 kids for a reservation. And then when you get to the restaurant, they'll just bill it to your shipboard account. So yep, that's how you do that. Now, the $12 menus are somewhat limited. So depending on what your kids eat, I can tell you Jo Marie does not want the $12 menu. She wants to order whatever we order. So I would say maybe peek at the menus. Usually when you make your reservations for MSC, you can go to any of the specialty dining restaurants to make your reservation. And a lot of times they'll have the menus for all of the restaurants there. So you can take a peek to see if you might want that specialty dining option. I would say look at the menus first. Or what have you, but you can also just pay for them a la carte as well. On the go Yellow says, always recommend getting off early. Absolutely. Absolutely. Andrea says, Royal Caribbean announced building a 7th Oasis class ship. Any wild speculation of where it may home port at? No clue. No clue. Meredith says, we are going on Mardi Gras and there will be one other ship, but it's not Celebration or Jubilee. Good. I mean, then you should be fine. I would say just still plan to get off a little early. Secret Gem says, it's been a while. Blessings. Thank you so much for being here. Niche says, what is the weather like in October in the Mediterranean? Nice. I have not cruised. Have I cruised the Mediterranean in October? I don't think so. The heat wave hits the Mediterranean in the summer, so true summer. October is when it really cools down. So September, October, you'll notice like 70-degree weather. So October is a great time to cruise Mediterranean, but because it is cooling down, that is also like the shoulder season, or the season as things are starting to really dwindle down. So you might see that there's less options as far as shore excursions, and some people will pack up and travel elsewhere, like some businesses. It's not as busy in the Mediterranean in October, or cruise wise. And so, whereas you're going to get better weather, you might see that some excursions could be limited. It just depends on when you go in October. Welcome in, Valerie. Appreciate you being here. Michelle says, Raquel, absolutely loved your Cruella de Vil. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That was so out of my comfort zone. It was a lot of fun, though. Welcome in, Lakeisha. I appreciate you being here. Happy Monday to you. Chris and Charles says, when we toured the rooms on a travel agent sailing a Valiant Lady, the solo cabins looked nice. Yeah, they're pretty nice cabins. So yeah, they're pretty nice cabins. And you'll get a good discount doing that. Esther says, first time to Europe do ship excursions. MSC had employees on some excursions. We went to dinner and show and I can't say that, Mallorca, that ran late. Good thing we were on a ship excursion. Yeah. And that's true. MSC, depending on where you're at and depending on the language is what I learned, because when I was in Brazil, I was in Brazil. They were going to cancel one of my excursions because I was the only English speaker, but they wound up sending an MSC Shore Excursions employee with me. So they will do that, especially if the guide doesn't translate. They'll send someone. It's not guaranteed though. They don't always send employees on the excursion, like you said, some of the excursions. But yeah, if things run late, the ship excursion will wait for you. But if it's third party, they will not. So I, like me personally, I probably would not do a third party dinner and show because it's dinner, which means it's probably close to back on board time. It's not worth it for me. Grandma says, other than Ola tacos, what other specialty would you recommend? The teppanyaki is pretty good on MSC. I would recommend that. And then depending on the ship, oh my gosh, what is the one on MSC World America? Can't think of it. I like Ola tacos. I would say teppanyaki. There's another one though. It'll come to me in a second. Mrs. Travels a lot says we did May in Mediterranean. It was perfect. Yes, May is good too. It's just when you hit that June, July, usually mid-June, July, August. That's like the hot season for the Mediterranean. Nish says, I always enjoy your YouTube vlogs. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Looks like we are down to the bottom of the chat. So any last minute questions? Let's see what's coming up. So I have Norwegian Gem coming up this weekend. Just quick 3-night sailing. Then I'll be on board Star. I was going to say Star of the Seas. Star Princess for the U.S. inaugural sailing of Star Princess. And then I actually have a luxury cruise right after that. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. If you're a channel member, I did announce that. And then what else? I can't remember. But if you're a channel member, you have my full schedule. But that's coming up. We will not have Paxos, yes. Paxos. Thank you so much. Starters at Greek restaurant on World America. That was the one I was thinking of. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, did I miss some questions? Wendy for Life says, how many months before my cruise out of Barcelona should I book my pre-cruise hotel? Typically, hotels only come out like a year in advance. I would say a hotel maybe 6 months out. With hotels, you can always, if you book a refundable rate, you can always cancel and rebook if the cost has gone down. I never recommend prepaying for hotels. Like for me, there's really no purpose in that. So I always book a refundable. Let me say this. There is a purpose in it in the sense of sometimes you can save a few dollars by paying now. But for me, I just do the refundable option for the hotel and then I monitor to see if it goes down. And then typically what I do is I kind of do a little trick to save money is I might book my hotel 6 months out under a refundable fare. And let's say if it's $250 per night, and then let's say the month before I go, I'll check the price. And if it's $200 per night, I will cancel the refundable fare. And then I will book the book now for $200 and just book that and have it paid off. But I would say 6 months. Welcome in, Patty Harris. Appreciate you being here. And I think that is it. So I will not be live next. I will not be live next Monday because I will be getting off of Norwegian Gem. The following Monday, I will not be live because I'll be getting off of Will I be getting off or getting on? Star Princess. Let me look at the calendar. So yeah, I don't think I'll be live that Monday. So yeah, yes. No, actually I'll be getting on. No, I'll be getting off Star Princess that following Monday. And then the following week, the 17th is when I'll go live again for the Monday Midday Cruise Q&A. But I will have cruise vlogs along the way. I'm going to finish up Virgin Voyages Valiant Lady. So if you missed the first part, I released that yesterday. I will be putting out the second part on Sunday. Then I think I'm going to backtrack to either Carnival Conquest, which was our group cruise from this summer, or Carnival Glory, which I was part of the Meet and I group cruise. Then I'm going to backtrack a little bit and go to Disney Wish. My sister and I were on Disney Wish. So I have a lot of vlogs that are kind of in limbo right now. I have to get pushed out. So a lot coming your way. Ron says $200 a night for a hotel. Oh, be quiet. Nia says, "Hey, welcome in. I appreciate you being here." $200 for a night for a hotel is pretty average nowadays, if not a little more. Unfortunately, they are for decent hotels. I can't do motels, and yeah, he already knows. But I think that is about it. I appreciate you guys being here. If you are just now tuning in, or if you aren't subscribed to our channel, please consider subscribing. We would appreciate all of your support. We are still on the road to 50K by the end of the year. I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows? Sometimes things, pop in the, algorithm, and things may change. But if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you are subscribed, if you're a channel member, your supporter, we greatly appreciate you being here. And again, for those of you who are in the path of Melissa, take care of yourself. We are sending thoughts and prayers to you all, to everyone in Jamaica, everyone in the path. And hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday and great rest of your week. And I will probably go live on Norwegian Gym at some point, so stay tuned for that. But appreciate you guys being here. And if you're looking to plan a cruise, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to help you. You guys take care.